Mr. President,
Senator from South Carolina.
I'd ask unanimous consent to terminate the quorum call.
Without objection.
Thank you very much. Later in the day, I will be making a motion to table the Paul amendment that would require offsetting the $7.76 billion for the coronavirus against the foreign operations account. Senator Paul's at it again. He's consistent. I respect his view. I just reject it. What he would be doing is basically upending the FY 2020 agreement on foreign assistance spending passed by Congress and signed into law by President Trump. He would be putting our nation at risk if this amendment actually passed. 1% of the federal spending is foreign assistance in different fashions and ways, including our commitment to our friends in Israel and other programs we have that I think are national defense oriented. The U.S. Global Leadership Coalition, consisting of 500 businesses, NGOs, military, and faith leaders, have warned that cuts of this magnitude would have devastating consequences on our ability to confront unprecedented global challenges, including counter China's growing influence around the world, supporting partners in the fight against extremism, and addressing the impacts of the Venezuela refugee crisis on key allies like Colombia. I would even go further. This cut would devastate the foreign assistance account in terms of being able to deal effectively with the effects of the virus overseas. David Beasley, the head of the World Food Program, warned in an AP article that I'd like to make part of the record if I could at this time.
Without objection.
He says that the coronavirus continues to create panic around the world and there's an economic downturn. I've been telling European leaders and leaders around the world you don't have enough money set aside to address the needs in Africa, East Africa, West Africa, in the Middle East right now. We're only beginning to understand the cost associated with the virus. I want to compliment Senator Shelby and Leahy for putting this package together, compliment the White House and the Senate and House. It was a huge vote in the House. If we accept Senator Paul's offset amendment, it will be devastating our ability as a nation to deal with this matter overseas. And as to Senator Paul's worldview, I have consistently rejected it. When it comes to international terrorism, I have no desire to go back to the pre-9/11 footprint of where we ignore problems over there, hoping they won't come here. And when it comes to fighting disease and containing viruses, I think we understand that we have to be present over there in an effective way to control the spread of the coronavirus, Ebola, and other diseases that can make their way to America. So we've always rejected these type offsets by Senator Paul. I think the best thing we could do is have an overwhelming bipartisan vote. You know, count me in for dealing with the deficit. But this is a penny wise and a pound foolish, because this $7.76 billion, if it's taken out of the foreign operations account, it makes this country less safe on multiple fronts, and I will be making a motion to table at the appropriate time and urge my colleagues to understand that what happens over there matters to us over here. And this would devastate programs like the Benjamin Gilman International Scholarships, Berea College and Western Kentucky University participate in. There's just a ripple effect of enormous proportions, and it's not going to do much for the debt, but it will do a lot to make us less safe. Senator Leahy.
Mr. President, just my friend and colleagues on the floor, one, I totally agree with what he just said. Senator Shelby and I will be giving longer statements in a few minutes, but Senator Graham and I have had the duty, really, to put through the foreign operations bill for a number of years now. We've tried to do it in a bipartisan, I'd say, actually a nonpartisan way. And as a result, it has gotten very, very strong support from both sides of the aisle, which is what we will hope will happen now. I will certainly be voting with Senator Graham's motion to table when he makes it. This, I mean, every senator, right, he or she can vote any way they want. But I would note for our colleagues, Senator Shelby and I and key senators, including the senator now on the floor of this, and I in both parties, have worked every day, every evening, our staff's weekends, in order to get where we are. This is a product of every single Republican, every single Democrat who wanted a voice in this, a chance to speak to it. Both Senator Shelby as chairman, myself as vice chairman, we made sure their voices were heard. I yield the floor and suggest.
I would like to just compliment again you and Senator Shelby. You know, always deliver. You seem to be able to do things that other people can't do at a time when we need you to deliver for the body and the country. And I've got an article, UN Food Aid Chief Fears for Africa, Mideast amid new crisis. I'd like to introduce that into the record. Is that good?
Without objection.
And a U.S. Global Leadership Coalition letter.
Objection.
And I just wrap up in saying that Senator Paul is consistent. Every time he wants to pay for something, he comes to the foreign assistance account. And I understand, you know, the argument, why are we spending over there when we got problems here? That sounds good until you realize how the world is. On September the 10th, 2001, the day before 9/11, we didn't have one soldier in Afghanistan, not an embassy, not an ambassador, not a dime of aid. The Taliban were in charge, and they gave al-Qaeda safe haven, and that's where the planning of the attacks in 9/11 originated. Looking back, wouldn't it have been nice to have some influence in Afghanistan on September the 10th? So all I can say, I'll never go back to that pre-9/11 mindset of ignoring the world, because I've learned, like most Americans, the world can come here in a very bad way or a very good way, depending on how we defend ourselves. And this 1% of the budget, foreign assistance to deal with problems over there, is absolutely essential in terms of global health. He exempted the global health component of the foreign assistance account, but the money, 7.76, will destroy other things in the account that I think are vital to our public health here and our national security and our alliances. You cannot fight problems like this by yourself. You need partners. You need to get involved over there so the virus doesn't spread any more here than necessary. So I hope that people will listen to what Senator Leahy just said, that this was a negotiated agreement. We all came together to get a budget. Senator Shelby and Leahy did a wonderful job working with the House and the White House to get us to where we are today. This amendment would upset everything, and I'm going to move to table it at the appropriate time. And with that, I'll notice the absence of a quorum.